Welcome to the SafeNet Crypto Classroom. In this session, we're going to talk about the role of crypto in compliance. There are some common assumptions and some approaches to compliance that will be discussed here that may change the way you tackle your next audit or other compliance initiative. The first point I'd like to address is that some companies assume that compliance equals security. We've seen companies get sensitive information breached, and in their defense, their CEOs or other high-ranking officials have basically said, "But we passed the audit, that should count for something." And the CEOs were wrong, and the companies got fined. All these guidelines, PCI, HIPAA, Basel II, CGIS, and so on, inform companies how to protect sensitive data. But they weren't written to be an enterprise security strategy and shouldn't be thought about that way. The second point is that some companies treat their compliance events with essentially Band-Aid solutions. They bring a vendor in, several consultants set up shop on site, often at hundreds of dollars per hour, and everyone runs through checklists and problems get patched up. This is a time and resource-intensive project and usually ends up in past audits, but the system and the data protection starts breaking down as soon as the auditor leaves, and the whole process starts all over for the next year. The third point is that organizations have data everywhere. This is particularly true for enterprises who've gone through acquisitions or mergers or who've expanded globally. Whether it's in databases, emails, files, or even graphics, that sensitive information needs to be protected. There are 4 cornerstones of data protection, particularly as it relates to compliance: ownership, isolation, separation, and attestation. Given these challenges of security and patching, how do we ensure these cornerstones regardless of what type of data you have or where you have it? Before anybody gets too overwhelmed, let's take a step back. These 4 cornerstones of data protection serve as the basis for about 90% of regulatory requirements out there. What if we approached our data systems from a perspective of security and data protection? What if we baked those cornerstones into the way the system was built from the beginning? What if we designed the system to protect the data no matter what format it was in or where it lived? We'd obviously eliminate a lot of these challenges, and along the way, we'd save a lot of time and resources in the audit cycle. So what's stopping us? Encryption and other related technologies can protect a lot of this data today. If you can centralize and unify that encryption system, you'll eliminate silos and close up a lot of those security gaps. Being able to apply a new security rule as globally as possible would prevent the patching and costs associated with that approach. In fact, this illustrates the 3 core principles that can assist organizations in protecting and controlling their sensitive data, as well as prepare them to adapt to changing infrastructures, deployment models, or new mandates. These 3 principles are: unify your data protection foundation. Pick technologies that can cover a wide set of systems, physical or virtual data centers, and structured or unstructured formats. This will not only establish a common framework for your data protection strategy, but you can enforce rules and policies consistently. Implement a central point of control and management. Ideally, this should cover encryption technologies, keys, policies, logging, and audits. Access controls are critical to the ability to prove control of your data and policies and enforce separation of duties. If you centralize control mechanisms, you can gain visibility into the enforcement of security and policy controls across the enterprise and across the data lifecycle. Implement a system that can grow with you. And by that I mean that you want to choose technologies that have a roadmap for things like cloud-based infrastructures, and that can support different scenarios of how your business might look in the future. When mandates change, regulations get added to the mix, or you start serving customers in another part of the world, you don't want to have to implement a separate system. Adding a silo is going backwards. With an approach to compliance that prioritizes security and data protection, you'll be able to protect more data in more places with centralized control and visibility, no matter what changes. Thanks for joining today's Crypto Classroom. I hope this was valuable information about the critical role that crypto plays in the recommended approach to compliance.